My name is Rob Rogers. I work for the Broads Authority and we look after the Broads National Park. My job is as the head of construction, maintenance and environment. A varied role. I look after the large teams that carry out the construction works, the maintenance works, and also environment design works within the Broads National Park. We carry out an extensive range of duties, including dredging of 124 miles of navigable waters. We maintain boardwalks, moorings, footways, other countryside and furnitures, and also we run an extensive fen and marsh grazing program using Conic and Welsh ponies to help us, as well as large wetland harvesters which cut the reed and sedge. I'd like to thank the LIFE project for inviting me to come and talk to you today about Water Framework Directive in the UK. It's quite a wide subject, so what I've tried to do with this presentation is actually narrow it down to the work that actually takes place within the Broadland River catchment, which also features the Broads National Park. This is my third attempt, so I'm hoping this time the slides actually are shared with you and you can see what I'm talking about. So bear with me while I just bring up the shared screen. Okay, so as said, my name is Rob Rogers. I'm the Head of Construction and Maintenance and Environment for the Broads Authority. My talk to you today is on the implementation of the EU Water Framework Directive within the Broads Rivers catchment. My talk is divided up into various sections. I want to be able to identify with you water framework challenges facing the Anglian River Basin districts within the National Park. I want to share with you the catchment area and explain its geology and relation within the UK. Identify physical resources which are causing the Water Framework Directive of the catchment to fail. Explain what actions are being taken to make improvements. Give you some further actions to demonstrate that partnership working is key to change. Highlight some key projects that the Broads Authority is leading on, and hopefully leave you with a positive message. The issue that we face within the Broadland catchment area is that we need to improve the quality of the water within our rivers, streams, lakes, estuaries, coastal waters and groundwater. Only 27% of English water bodies are currently classified as having a good status. The benefits of these are wide, but mainly include safeguarding jobs within the region, improving the natural habitats, improving the ecosystems and the ecology of the area. And to do this, we use the EU directive set up in 2000. It was established for the Community Action of Water Policy, or as we know it, the Water Framework Policy, better known as the Water Framework Directive. In the United Kingdom, the Water Framework Directive is delivered throughout the river basin with management plans. There is one plan for each river basin. There are 11 river basin districts in England and Wales, and the Broads National Park is actually in the Anglian region, and you can just about make it out. This is the Anglian region, and the Broads National Park starts roughly where Norwich is. It's a large city, which is known as the capital of the East. This map shows you the catchment tidal limits, major settlements, roads and rivers all impacting upon the catchment into the Broads National Park and its rivers and shallow lake system. It also shows the location of the Anglian River Basin and the geographical closeness of the Broads National Park to the North Sea. So this little map here shows you Great Britain, Scotland at the top, Wales, the East, and over here, which is that little bit highlighted, we have the North Sea. If you draw a straight line roughly from Great Yarmouth, you'd end up in the Hook of Holland. The rivers within the Broads are tidal, and with surge tide events happening at higher frequencies, salt incursion into the freshwater system is increasing. The freshwater mixing with the salt water is creating a brackish habitat, and in some Broads, this is changing the whole ecology of the area. Fish refuges have been created, and some agencies are taking actions to try and develop the construction of a tidal barrier. But high economic costs and the blocking of the navigation are a few of the major stumbling blocks preventing this ambitious project moving forward. The angling catchment is very low lying, with its highest elevation being in the northwest, up here, about 100 metres above sea level, with the lowest region of the catchment being in the east, with an average height of about less than 3 metres. So actually the majority of it is below sea level. Rainfall in this region is relatively low, although recent climate change has meant prolonged periods of heavy rainfall. The geology is largely chalk and crag, which is gravel and sand. But to the east, you find a more peat environment. And in general terms, peat soils occur around the Broads and into the shallow river valley. The fact that the Broads in the national park was actually formed from peat digging in the past by ancient Britons. Our water environment is in a precarious state. Despite much investment and significant improvement in water quality and less nutrient pollution over the last 30 years, our map is at moderate at best, with some significant areas of poor and bad. The Water Framework Directive for 2015 targets the Broads to have at least 9% of its rivers and 28% of its lakes to achieve a good status. We are currently failing that target. The Broads is low-lying and at the bottom of the catchment, and so is affected by upstream events as well as tidal surges from the North Sea. This slide shows you some of the key issues affecting the Water Framework Directive within our basin. Issues like pollution from towns and cities, natural flows from the North Sea, and runoff from intensive farming are all highlighted in this slide as having a major impact upon the river catchment. To change the status of our waters, we have to implement a number of actions. To do this, we have what is known as the River Basement Management Plan. This is published by the Environment Agency, and it outlines the work that a range of organisations are undertaking to assist in improving water framework directives. We have a water company business plan. Within our catchment area, Anglian Water is the sole public sewage provider. Its action plan hopes to maintain and improve sewage systems with the aim of further reductions in nutrient release on land and also into the water bodies. And then there's the Broads Authority. We have a 5-year strategic management plan, which is currently due for renewal in 2016. This is where climate change, sustainable use of the rivers and Broads, and some of the issues that we tackle. It also includes actions for a range of organisations, community groups, and non-government organisations based on partnership working and sharing resources. 3 actions is never enough, so a further 3 major actions have also been instigated to link land and water. They are the land management. Several agronomists and land advisors work across the catchment, particularly assisting farmers to comply with good agricultural and environmental conditions, and designed to strengthen EU legislation. Catchment sensitive farming is a partnership between Natural England and the Environment Agency, and it's working to reduce pollution from agriculture, and it delivers practical solutions and targeted support. And finally, we have the environmental stewardship. This is central government's funds which are used to pay landowners to preserve or improve landscape, wildlife and access. The Broads Authority removes over 50,000 cubic metres a year from 124 miles navigationable waters. Removing nutrient-rich sediment has a direct benefit to improving water quality, and it also helps stop the turbidity, the fluidization of loose sediments in the water column, which stirs up and makes the water look muddy and brown. We also have the non-native species. This was launched in 2008 to promote prevention, control, eradication of alien and invasive species. Partners collate and monitor data on the distribution and spread of these species. They help control and develop eradication programs from that strategy. And we also have fish barriers. Now, over the last few years, 150 fish barriers have been assessed, some removed and some bypassed. In particular, eels have suffered a huge decline in our area since the 1990s. Under the eel regulation, any water intake has to be screened and have structures made passable for eels. So my concluding slide is a rather beautiful picture of Hyam Sound, one of the largest shallow lakes within the Broads National Park. And it was subject to a rather ambitious program to reinstate some eroded land lost via geese and wind erosion. This project is on the Broads Authority's website, and I'm happy to take further questions, excuse me, on that in particular. But in conclusion, I want to say that the management of land and water has evolved in a piecemeal fashion over the centuries, and it occurs in specific regions and sectors or districts, and boundaries do not reflect the natural boundaries of the catchment. In some circumstances, the planning of improvements to the water ecosystem has failed to make use of the knowledge of those who live and work in the catchment. To sustain long-term solutions linking rural development, flood risk management and environmental stewardship funding around hydrological boundaries, in my opinion, is required. By working together, we can make the necessary leaps and bounds needed to improve the environment, provide benefit to society and strengthen the economy. Thank you very much for listening to me today. And if you have any further questions, then please get in touch.